Hi listeners, welcome to your daily cup of coffee with Charu, where hopefully with a hot cup of coffee we discuss how to tackle the day and the week ahead based on the astrological aspects that are dominating the sky. Yesterday I briefed you on the Mars-Neptune square that's dominating the sky this week, and it's happening at the point where the solar eclipse of 10th of June will bring about a new beginning. We all have been discussing solar eclipses bring about fated changes. The changes that would normally take years and years to happen, solar eclipses bring about that all of a sudden. But there's a build up to the solar eclipse, and this aspect is very much part of a build up to the solar eclipse of 10th of June in Gemini, and Mars is right now standing at the very degrees where that eclipse is about to happen. Today, after a brief introduction, we're going to dig into your specific zodiac sign and see how this impacts you. You can catch me on YouTube as well as across the podcast platforms Anchor, Spotify. I will leave the links in description for you so you can access this episode also through the podcast platforms. My name is Charu and I'm your host on this journey. So let's dig in. As I mentioned in my post and podcast yesterday, Mars square Neptune will become exact on 9th of April, and it would be felt most of this week. Mars is our drive and Neptune tends to slow it down. But there is a hindrance for a more effective and inspired action that this aspect is trying to highlight to us before we go blazing into the eclipse season with a fated shift in our life. The 10th June eclipse would be starting a new chapter at the point where this aspect is happening right now. So understanding this aspect and the dissonance that it is creating this week, the purpose behind that dissonance is very important for you to have the right kind of beginning on 10th of June solar eclipse. North Node or Rahu has already visited and activated this eclipse in January of 2021. We have already experienced the activation of this new beginning, whether we are aware of it or not. Some of the things might be happening behind the scene and we may not be fully aware of. They will fully come out, and the physical manifestation of it will fully come out to light during the June eclipses. But the activation of the eclipse already began in January of 2021. Mars right now, standing at that very point in Gemini, dares us to do the right thing before we enter the physical manifestation phase of that period, of that eclipse. With Neptune, Mars is trying to put the inspiration behind our action, the right inspiration behind the actions that we're going to take. A collective goal, some faith behind our actions, and making sure that we're going after something with the right purpose behind it. Sometimes we reach where we thought we wanted to go, only to realize later on that is not the destination we truly wanted to get to. And Neptune is trying to make sure that we understand that what we are going after is truly our purpose, truly our desire. Neptune dissolves social, political, religious, and personal boundaries as well that block our collective growth. And they block the birth of a new societal ideal. So Neptune is trying to dissolve all of those hindrances and those boundaries that block that birth within ourselves as well. It teaches us to have faith in the unknown. So if we are trying to take the practical route, the easy route, Neptune is going to try to stop us in the tracks. It teaches us to have faith in the unknown, to aim higher, aim for a higher purpose, higher road. It teaches us to love unconditionally, allow the barriers to disintegrate, and act out of a place of pure inspiration to contribute to the society versus for ego gratification or for fitting into the society and our surrounding. It undermines the success which comes without service to the collective and without service to your own soul. It is trying to keep you honest to your own soul's purpose. Nothing is done fully for altruistic purposes, but Neptune demands that our motivations aren't inspired by pure ego boost or societal pressure. A very creative aspect is currently happening, and it makes us sensitive to both our soul's purpose as well as to the collective need and styles. So, what we create is made out of pure love. It is made from a place of wanting to channel our soul. And there is an element of self transcendence over here where we don't necessarily keep ourselves and our ego gratification as the front of what we are trying to do. What we hold at the front of our mind when we are going after something, when Neptune is aspecting it, is a higher purpose. And that is bound to touch others on a deeper in a deeper way, and it will serve the collective in a much more meaningful way. So let's put some meat on the bones now by looking at your sign, and as usual, check your rising sign. That is the key indicator, and if you're able to, check the sun and the moon sign for a fuller picture, but rising sign would be the key indicator for how this aspect is playing out for you. So let's dig in. Hi Cancer, for you, this aspect is playing out in the area of your chart which rules foreign travel, spiritual creativity, hidden talents, guardian angels coming out of nowhere, sensuality, privacy, healing actions. And that will be the focus of the new start, the new beginning that is happening with the 10th of June solar eclipse. So a new start in your house of spiritual creativity, hidden talent, some sort of support out of nowhere coming in. This is also related to foreign travel, or at least, dealing with foreign parties in some ways. Cancer, you might be chipping away in your privacy right now with some hidden excitement on matters linked to creativity, linked to pleasure, linked to connections, foreign interactions, and energy is not channeled so much outward. It's like you're conserving your momentum for something upcoming, but you feel that in your soul that it's coming. Your house of hidden favors is being activated over here. Your house of talents, affairs, interactions, sensual interactions, and peace are being activated for the 10th of June solar eclipse. And a fated event would have already happened end of December or January, which might have initiated something out of the blue whose full physical manifestation will only pan out in June. But right now, behind the scene, you may be laying down the groundwork for it or even enjoying it or them in your privacy, your little piece of fantasy, your little piece of heaven, your little piece of inner peace. Spirituality, creativity out of the world's eye is blossoming, and sometimes without your own active eye, it is growing. It might be tough to focus on practical matters as you're going through so much behind the scene. Your imagination is very much stoked right now, and it should be leveraged to lay down the groundwork of whatever next magnum opus you are about to write or create, or the biggest love story you're about to write or create. And this magnus opus could very much be a passionate, behind the scenes, steamy love affair, but we wouldn't know what it is till June, and there is some hurdle to get through to the other side of it. Neptune has taken you on a spiritually enriching journey, possibly through interaction with people who are different and far from you. In the process, it has expanded your horizons, your imagination, it has lowered your boundaries, adding more creativity, higher knowledge to you, and your outlook on life is becoming more and more positive, and your purpose in life is becoming much more elevated and kosher through those interactions. What you create must come from that elevated place and not from your past. Not surely from the psychology or philosophy of your past, which used to stop you through self doubt in the roots before you could gun for more. You are in for a new chapter. You are in a budding phase with North Node right now in your 12th house, just about to enter your social house end of this year. When what you're creating behind the scene can go large scale in a very fated manner to the people you want to influence and enchant and create gains for you. That's when North Node will move into Taurus, which is your house of connections, gains, popularity, network influence, and the larger vision of your life. And when North Node enters that part of our chart, which happens once in 19 years, our vision is brought to screen. Our vision is brought to a large scale, to large scale people. And that will happen through a series of eclipses over the course of 2023 and 2024. But right now in 2021, you are chipping away, getting some guardian angel help, some support to get to that. And you'll be laying down the groundwork behind the scene. You are in a budding phase, a private enrichment phase of the soul and of your creativity. So you're ready spiritually for what you're about to take on. And you might enter a distraction or hindrance about night right now. Now, this distraction or hindrance can enrich that new start by adding more depth to it. But at the same time, you might at this time might be split because of that. It's like an unknown source that stops you. It's that unconscious fear sometimes. It's a pattern from the past, which could be a thought process or lack of faith that is doing rounds, and that might be stopping you in the track, or an actual person, a distraction who takes your attention away from the expansive goal. Now interaction with that person or that distraction or a steamy affair, if that's what it is, they can add sometimes creatively to what you're about to do. They can add more depth, more love to what you're doing. Isolation, time for deep research, quiet contemplation is very much required for you to be able to write your magnus opus. Just remember that whatever you're about to create and launch to the larger population, you'll require to conserve your time for that. You'll require isolation, you'll require time for deep research, you'll require quiet contemplation. So be sure what you're about to spend your time on, and be sure that that hindrance doesn't become a true hindrance on the way for you to interact with people or to come out to people at a larger scale. Heights without depth are meaningless. Remember that in whatever work you are creating. This conflict normally shows the conflict between two expansive sides of ourselves. It's a good problem to have. Be careful that this hindrance, though, doesn't become an issue for you, like a mental distraction in some ways. Because when we have Neptune in our house of adventure, which you do right now, though it opens up us for new teachings, new learning, creative ideas, interaction with people who are far away from us, very interesting influences can come from foreign countries when that happens. But some of those influences can be almost a distraction or could be illusion as well. So be careful of the mentors, the foreign players coming into your life. As with Neptune, we idealize these influences. They're great to open you up, but they aren't your destiny. It's like substance use. Once in a while, we get a high, and it's all great. Though I personally don't condone it, but I'm giving an example. It's like with that, you get a high, and it can add depth to your creativity. But if it's becoming an addiction, we're getting persuaded into thinking it's more than it is, we might hit a wall. Neptune is selfless love. It's normally unrequited one, because it's trying to teach us to love from a place of no expectations. That love through a person, a mentor, an out of world experience, and adventure comes into your work. Though the process may not be that straightforward, as it's a hard aspect, but it adds that depth to your heights, as does having faith, as does having experience with foreign and different people, as does yearning and spirituality. Neptune is trying to add all of those flavors into the magnus opus that you're creating behind the scene. The writer of fantasy, the out of this world creation, the skill that you have of this creative imagination that will take everybody into another world, and the hidden talents and the power that you have that's coming out now into play and would be required when you face the larger world, when North Node goes into your house of network influence and you need to come out with your talents at a larger platform, at a larger scale. Those skill sets, they need the space to be cultivated. They need the love to be cultivated, but they don't need heartbreak to be present in the middle of it all to take you away from what you're trying to do. I'm being very clear here, I think, and I hope it's helpful. It's not meant to warn you in some ways, because Neptune is in positive aspect with you. So the foreign influences or the mentors who might seem, they are coming from another world, they can add creativity to you, can expand your outlook to life, can add positivity, fun to you. But Neptune is like quicksand. The harder we try to hold on to those people, the tougher it gets. Neptune is also foreign countries. So, with this hard aspect, traveling to foreign countries physically, which may not even be possible right now, but there is a little bit of a hindrance to travel to foreign country, because it can impact you in a negative way in some ways. So it's not advised to physically travel to foreign countries or faraway lands, or to set you know set set your home, for example, in a foreign country at this stage, if you're planning to do that. The new beginning and the new start for you, which is happening in June of 2020 with this eclipse, it will come with possibility of either your work being shown in foreign lands, or your connection to foreign countries, a new connection in foreign countries, or even a travel or relocation. But right now, with the Neptune hard aspect, it may not be yet the time. It may not yet be the moment to go for it. Mind is focused on and needs to be focused on another world right now. And all of these influences, talking to people, interacting with people who are different from you, Neptune adds a layer to that. And even, sometimes we take on different religion, elements of different religion when this happens, because Neptune reduces our boundaries with foreign religion, foreign people, foreign lands, and it's that spice that is added into what you're creating, and you must add that right now. But if it is becoming a blockage in some ways, we need to address that. Sometimes Neptune also reminds us to have more faith, because when Mars is in 12th house, it's like we are working behind the scene, but nothing is happening in the front. So we can get a little bit deluded, and it's sort of reminding us that have faith. This is the moment of what you're cooking to simmer a little bit, to become fine wine in some ways, as there are some elements that need to be added to it. And also some amount of selfless love to what you're creating needs to be there. There needs to be more yearning in some ways, so we want it. We show that that's what we want. Because sometimes with Gemini being in 12th house, there might be different things, different options, creative options, many different options that might be open to you. And the ones that are more altruistic, the ones that add to the society the most, the ones that are truly your place in the universe are also being filtered out in that process with or without your knowledge, because this is hidden house, so things are hidden from you that are happening behind the scene. There is guidance, there's help, there's support that is coming through guardian angels, but it may not be clear to you. And in that world, a lot of filtering of options that are not good for you in long run might be happening in the process. So sometimes this square aspect, which can cause a little bit of restlessness, because we feel that why is it not out in the light yet? Why am I not out into the light yet? Why is not my work already seen the day of light? Essentially, that's normally the thought process that goes inside a mind at this time. But know that there's depth that is being added to the heights you're going to scale, and that depth is being added right now in the process, in the conflict, in this yearning, in this delay that you might be experiencing, and the experiences that you're having right now with people who are far away from you, in the experiences you're having with faith, with spirituality, with experimenting with different things that you're doing, because your boundary to experimentation is low right now. Those, all the things that happen in waiting, they're adding lot more depth to the work you're about to present, and lot more depth to your personality, which will be able to handle much more when your work is opened up to a larger set of people and more people come into your social network with that. So good luck for that, Cancer, and I'll see you in the next video now.